All right. Hello. Um, Welcome to my channel. For those who are new to my channel, my name is Jose. I work with asteroids, so I like to coin the term microastrology. So basically, I'm a microastrologer. Um, but this channel is more than that. So, I wanted to talk about one specific dwarf planet called QUAOAR. Hardly ever talked about, I find, well, in my own research. What I've seen, there's at least on YouTube, here on YouTube and social media and all that stuff. But what he represents, they, it represents is, according to my research, first and foremost, he's basically apparently the higher vibration of um, Jupiter. So he's more than expansion. He's basically how things come about naturally. Right? There's been stuff already done by Philip Sedgwick on this one, but on my own research, I noticed that he's a lot about that sort of creativity, all forms of life. So he was I believe he had like this long nose. Or was that? Who was it that had that long nose? I think it was him. Let me double check here. This one. Okay, so he's about transitions. So puberty, he's tied to that one. But because he's tied to um, getting to know other people, like something to do, it's something to do with his story or something to do with his brothers or something like that. Architect of the world. Um, okay, so interconnectedness of life. So that's one of those things is communication. Well, he's the god of creation, right? Um, I think Gabrieleño people. Where were they from? He's apparently tied to the Big Bang. Uh, okay. He's tied to which one is this? Was the Waywat god of the sky? Um, it's something to do with ayahuasca. It's something to do with Central America. Is it Chingish? I don't know how to pronounce this one. Chingish. Um, right? So he presents many, 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 many things, one of which is languages. Um, so I've been kind of looking into, you know, we tied to the Tower of Babel, meaning that it's about the origins of communications, right? Foreigners getting to know people, human separation, right? It's tied to the Tower of Babel. So it's tied to languages and how we diverged from just one thing that the Tower of Babel in Christianity, where it actually represents humanity's inability to communicate, or rather, it became that way where we weren't really connected at an intuitive level. Um, this is where core makes sense because core has a high vibration of Jupiter, and Jupiter is all about expansion, foreign relations, um, growth, expansions, probably also tumor. So basically growth, right? Just kind of expansiveness. So going out there, he also rules big businesses. So core is more of that whole, I'm not going to control things. I'm going to let things be as they are and grow abundantly, naturally through natural ways. Really, it's a creative impulse to grow. But when we get into that point where the shadow of Jupiter comes in, we want to kind of control, right? It's tied to belief systems, tied to organized religion, whereas core is not tied to any of that stuff where it has to be some sort of, uh, right? Although in the story there was all that stuff regarding separation and, connection, disconnection, changes, right? It's called the first sin. He's tied to that. The first Adam and Eve, the first Adam and first Eve. Take it from do you want? That's the representation. First identification of gender. Okay. The nature, everything natural. So he's much higher in terms of like having faith, right? Because he's natural law. So that means natural law means like in this case, for me at least, is I feel it's very much about um it's more than just what people say it is. Natural law is like how things just govern themselves. So for example, if I scratch, what's gonna happen to the skin? Naturally it's gonna be like that, right? So we I find that when it comes to core and what he's tied to with languages, it's I have that in my chart and I like really profound things. My core is in what 12, 10, 12 degrees, was it 11 degrees Scorpio, which actually has a dwad of Pisces in it. So very idealistic, very cathartic and idealistic when it comes to these kind of stuff, when it comes to language. It's not just because it's language. I have this innate feeling that's the fourth house. For me, the strong intrinsic feeling that, language has always been more than what we see it as. So, and for me as a person who you could say loves languages, it's not really about language itself. It's about going past that transition or that breakthrough, that point where it's like, what's out there? So I'm trying to think, all I'm getting is in terms of his creative impulse, the higher mind, right? He talks about all elements, all energy in life. So there's this desire of mine to go beyond, like, the question I had today was for myself. If I want to acquire languages, meaning like I want to be genuinely fluent in it, and fluency comes from the word fluid, like it's related to the word fluid, like flow, right? So that means I would definitely have to go with the flow. And that also means that when it comes to things that are more natural for me, that's what I should stick with. But at the same time, sometimes there's always a way. There's a creative impulse. Like I said, QUAOAR has a creative impulse to that. There's a part of the psyche that's beyond this right here to go and it's almost like I want there's this desire of mine to go back into child brain, like the neuroplasticity that I've been looking into, that it is very flexible, it forms, yes. Um, so I guess with time is the key here. So that totally coincides exactly what I believe in, right? Core is also tied to beliefs. It's a high vibration Jupiter. It's also beliefs, but it is a belief where I'm actually believing in it. Like I don't tell myself I believe, I actually feel it. Um, so core broadens that expansion even more, but it's not so much about expansion, it's about you're already expansion itself. So therefore, why go beyond anything else? You don't need to go beyond. You just have to follow natural things. So yeah, even if I were to make mistakes, that's totally fine. That totally makes sense. That's a core thing as well, right? Just it's not because there's something about the whole puberty thing. When we reach puberty, we make mistakes. Like the Tower of Babel, they made mistakes. We wanted to expand and reach high, right? But then the Tower of Babel story, right? It's for those who are Christian. It was basically God or the divine said you can't do that. You can't reach beyond what you're capable of. You have to stay where you are at the moment that you're in. Enjoy it as while you can. Enjoy it there in the moment. It's always in the present moment. So it totally coincides with exactly what I pretty much got my answer. That even if I were to let's go back to let's say traditional methods like a bit of translation here and there, because what I've been doing is putting labels in the room and not giving a fuck about it. It's just like it looks messy, but that's how I learn. That's how I expose myself. I don't want to also limit myself to this whole I'm online, but at the same time, here's the thing. The natural part of it all, the process, is I'm actually in here right now. So this is the what I'm going to be using. So what can I do to make use of this at its, best at its best? How can I really make use of it without having to force anything, right? So same thing with all these things. Like went back to Romansh. I posted a video on my other channel about meditation in Romansh. Not many people know about this language, and I love how it sounds. And that's to me, that's part of the core thing. When I hear it, it's beautiful. It's kind of like Italian with German stuff in it, and then it has a bit of Spanish stuff. Like it has very similar sounds to Catalan, but it's also very simple. It's not like overly complicated or anything like that. Um, but it's more than the language, you know. So I wanted to see what the Swiss people have to offer, like what's in. So I have this channel I follow called ETR Ufants, means like children. Um, and they are talking to. I don't get it. I don't understand a lot of it still. But even though the point I'm making is that sometimes there can be too much focus on it has to be this way, or it has to be this way, it has to be this way. What if it's all of it? What if I have to go back to some traditional methods, even though it feels somewhat unnatural, and make it natural? So what I do is like I have this phrase book, and I just literally blocked out all the English, and I drew pictures in it, and then I come back to it later, so I don't really see the English later, and I go, okay, so that's what it is. Um, that on its own is very, you can say it's limiting, but at the same time, it's kind of like saying, well, the seed is in the tree yet. The seed is a seed. Well, the seed will become a tree eventually. And that's the process of natural growth. That's the process of this whole thing. Right. So this is what QUAOAR is teaching me right now, or rather, the aspect of humanity or consciousness, human consciousness, or that is represented by QUAOAR. Um, and I'm really drawn to this language because it's like it actually shows up in my chart. The asteroid Graubunden, which is basically that area where Romansh is spoken in Switzerland, is conjunct my sun. And I really resonate with it. I just, it feels like, oh, there's something really, it's something about it. It's just something, oh. And astrologically speaking, when you're talking about it's in 25 degrees, that 25-degree mark is actually, what is that one here? Because my sun is in Libra. The Dwad behind it is, for those who don't know Dwads, DWAD, it gives a more detailed reading to the sign that the planet's in, and also if there's aspects of whatever house it's in. So it's like more of a layer to the layer to the layer, and I love it. And I was thinking, so okay, so 25 degrees, and then that means hold on one second. That's going back. Okay, so the last 2.5 degrees, the Dwad for Libra would be its previous sign, so it's Virgo. But before that, which is in 25 and 27.27.5 degrees, or 27 and 30 minutes, that's Leo. So you see how it's like, wow, okay, so it's really there with the sun too. So that means it's conjunct not only the sun, and the sun rules Leo. So there's a Leo layer to the Libra layer, but it's also in this third house. So it has a Gemini flavor to it, right? And then the Libra thing. So there's a Libra, there's Gemini, and then there's Leo. So you can see how there's a lot of inspiration there, a lot of thought put into it, a lot of like, there's a lot of fire in it too. The Leo is it actually balances out in a way, to sort of, so to speak. There's a cardinal sign, there's a cardinal quality to it. There's a fixed quality and there's a mutable quality. So we're actually going with the flow with that one. So when we're talking about Grabunden, it's tied to the cusp of the fourth house for me, the IC or the Imam Kweli or Nadir. It feels very much like I'm at home with it. Although Pluto is there, so that means intensity is added to it. Pluto is conjunct my sun. It's at 21 degrees. I forgot the minutes. So, right, so it's right there. So I feel very much at home with that. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So when it comes to core, wherever your core is, for those who are probably wondering, how does this apply to me? Um, look for things that inspire you, make you feel like you're flowing with life, make you feel like I'm really drawn to that and I want to grow in that. I feel like my heart is beating with the whole thing, right? I would say core, even though it's a high vibration of Jupiter, I would say it fits in with Leo as a ruling planet. But then core is also transition. So talking about that kind of stuff. Yeah, it would still be Leo because Leo is childhood, but once it goes into when you're talking about the fifth house, which is ruled by Leo, you go into the sixth house. That's technically like teenhood right there, because the fifth house is the house of children. Sixth house is the house of, we're talking linearly, you know, again, but linear is a linear timeline is just it's on the physical level, but at the same time, it makes sense, right? So that makes sense why it goes. If you're going to the sixth house, that would be like teenhood. That totally makes sense. I would get that. Um, and I know it sounds kind of like sometimes maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't care. But to me, it totally makes sense because it applies in my chart and it is, yeah. Anyways, forget the ruling planet stuff. So the point in making is that core, I just gave me the answer for this whole thing. So I'm good where I'm at, keeping where I'm at, staying where I'm at, and that's very good. I'm not even going into what conjunction is in my chart and all that stuff, but core is a beautiful planet regarding languages, um, separation or inclusion. It's tied to that, where you don't need to go beyond what you're already here and now to do and experience and feel as a flow of life. This is core, right? When you feel touched by something and you're like that's technically like the sun, but it's not so much the ego. It's not Jupiter where it's also like it's all about usually leisure where you feel like you can grow, but this is more like i'm, I'm going with it. Yeah, I'm going with it. That's core. I feel like that's core right now. Again, in astrology though, however, they see that all these things are not certain yet because these newly discovered dwarf planets haven't, they're newly discovered. So they haven't even reached probably most likely the second zodiac sign that they're in. So they say it's probably going to take another, I don't know how long core sits in a sign specifically. That's usually how they did, in astrology, how things are determined in terms of what fits in where, right? So in terms of like, does it fit in the sign? In terms of like rulership wise. But at the same time, I think with the way astrology is moving and with the way humanity is moving and all these downloads that we're getting, um, at least in my case, that's how it is. I feel like I was made to do this research, and there's a lot of information there. Besides all the stuff I put in, I was just like, that wasn't even it. That was just right. So, anyways, so thank you for watching. That's about it. That's all I can say. I feel like the background. I really like this background. It's cool. It's from Pixabay. So, anyways, I thought I'd just share something unique because I am into exploration, which is also the source of um, why I'm into languages. It's an exploration, adventure, even if it's quiet adventure, if it's calm, like my Jupiter is in Virgo, so it's like quietly ambitious, right? My core is in Libra, so it's also kind of quietly, but it's not about ambition. It's more like it is ambition, but it's like learning from that ambition. If it's too much, it needs perspective. There was this episode from Sabrina where who is the character? What's the name of the character? He's Slovenian apparently. The boyfriend of Sabrina. What was her name? Um, Harvey. There you go. So he he gets into this whole thing where he was cast a spell was cast on him, and he was like basically leaving school and he didn't want to. He was really ambitious. So he became a businessman and he bought the school, but then he was doing too much of all this stuff. So he was given perspective instead. He was like this a cousin of Sabrina who selling her uh, perfume and soaps and all that stuff, but actually they're spells or potions. And so, anyways, so he was given this perspective, and I'm laughing because it was like a third eye sort of thing. So it's just interesting how that all comes down to this whole thing, but it makes sense. So instead of ambition itself, you're given perspective of that ambition. That's also core. Totally makes sense. Anyway, so that's it. Again, sorry. I'm like my dad. I say I'm done and then I'm not done. I'm done and I'm not. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys later. I hope that gives some insight. I don't know. For me, core is magic. So there's more to it than that. I'm kind of curious about the dwarf planet Gong Gong. And they're wondering what fits in them. So I feel like yeah. So core might be the new ruling planet, which I by the way I wanted to pose to you guys who are watching, whoever's watching. You know how there's new planets that were discovered and became the new ruling planets of this sign and this sign, like Scorpio, for example, and Neptune had it, Aquarius had it, and then now it's Eris. It's probably going to, they say it might replace Libra for, it might replace Venus for Libra, but I had a strong feeling several times. One was in the cold shower, one was some other time where, what if, sorry, I might correct there, what if the 12 zodiac signs have more than one ruling planet, as in actually can be officialized, so to speak, where each one had maybe at least like two, like a primary and a secondary. So everyone has a primary one, but they also have secondaries, if that makes sense, right? So like probably like the high vibration of Saturn is Varuna, which when I'm looking at it, he's about integration. And I'm looking at the dwarf planets because technically Chiron is considered now it's being placed in Virgo. However, I know I said I'd go, but the Virgo is but sorry, but Chiron is Centaur. And if the planets out there, further out there, are the new ruling planets, like say Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, are for their, the signs that they're in right now, then why not go beyond that and say that Virgo probably is the new ruling planet of Virgo? So it's still Mercury, but then it's also probably Varuna, because Virgo likes to connect things. It's all about integration. It goes into Libra, right? So I would say Verona is a new ruling planet of Virgo. If it's not, then it's something else. Um, Anyways, the list goes on. I'm not going to go too much in that. I'm just saying that what if, right? I strongly feel core fits in with Leo. So we'll see. I don't know. Anyways, thank you again for watching. See you guys later. Finally, this is my last, I promise. Thank you. And like, comments below, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Welcome to my channel. Again, my name is Jose. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.